Hello and welcome. Recession is one of those words we hear all the time in the news. It sounds serious, but what does it actually mean? Well, in this explainer, we're going to break it all down: what a recession is, what causes one, and how it really affects all of us in our daily lives.
Let's be honest, the word itself can be a little intimidating, right? It often brings up feelings of uncertainty or financial stress. So, our goal here is to cut through all that noise and get a really clear, straightforward understanding of what economists are talking about when they use this term. So, first things first, let's start with a proper definition. Now, you might have heard a common rule of thumb for what a recession is, but the official definition that economists use is actually much more thorough.
Here it is, the core definition, and there are three key words to really pay attention to here: significant, widespread, and prolonged. A small, brief dip in just one part of the economy, well, that's not a recession. For something to earn that title, the downturn has to be deep enough to matter, it has to be felt across many different industries, and it has to last for more than just a couple of months. This really gets to the heart of how a recession is identified. On the left, you've got that popular rule of thumb. If the country's main economic scorecard, the GDP, goes down for 6 months straight, it's a recession. It's simple, for sure. But on the right is how the officials see it, groups like the National Bureau of Economic Research. They look at a much broader picture, because just looking at GDP can sometimes give a false signal. Their goal is to make sure it's a truly deep, pervasive, and lasting downturn before making the official call.
So, to get that bigger picture, economists look at a whole dashboard of economic signals. It's like a doctor checking all your vital signs, not just your temperature. They're looking at job numbers, checking if factories are still humming along, and tracking how much people are actually buying at the store. The main point is, it's a full health checkup for the economy, not just a quick look at one number.
Okay, so now that we know what a recession is, the next big question is, what causes them? What can actually trigger a major economic slowdown?
Well, there's rarely just one single culprit. It's usually a mix of things. You could have a sudden shock out of nowhere, like a pandemic or a massive spike in energy prices. Or it could be something building up for a while, like too much debt in the system. Other triggers? You bet. Things like a housing bubble bursting, or prices changing way too fast, or even a central bank raising interest rates very quickly. And you can't forget about simple psychology. If enough people get worried and stop spending, that fear can actually become a self-fulfilling prophecy.
Once a recession gets started, it can sometimes feel like it has a mind of its own. This next part explains how that happens. It's a lot like a line of falling dominoes, where one event sets off the next in a powerful chain reaction. Let's walk through this cycle. It often starts with us, the consumers. Maybe we get a little nervous about the future, so we decide to spend less. Well, when that happens, companies see their sales and revenues drop. Their natural reaction is to cut costs, which unfortunately often means putting expansion plans on hold and, yes, laying off workers. And that, of course, leads to more people with less money in their pockets, which weakens spending even more. And just like that, the cycle feeds itself. This brings us to the most important question, really. What does all this economic talk actually mean for our everyday lives? Let's connect these big ideas to the real-world effects on businesses, jobs, and all of us. For businesses, the impact is pretty direct and obvious. When people aren't spending as much, sales go down and profits shrink. This kind of uncertainty makes most companies hit the pause button on big plans, like building a new factory or launching a new product line.
The effect on the job market is probably one of the most visible and painful signs of a recession. Unemployment numbers usually go up as companies have to make tough choices about layoffs. For people who keep their jobs, raises might be off the table. And for anyone out there looking for work, things just get a whole lot more competitive.
And for all of us as consumers, we feel it right in our own homes. Personal income can take a hit, which means our spending power goes down. This creates that general feeling of economic anxiety that, as we just talked about, feeds right back into the cycle by making us want to save more and spend less. All right, to finish up, let's quickly recap what we've learned and add a little bit more context to help put recessions into perspective. First off, this is a really important distinction to make. A recession is not the same thing as a depression. A recession, while tough, is a somewhat normal part of the business cycle that usually lasts for a number of months. A depression, on the other hand, is a much, much rarer and more devastating event that can go on for years, with a catastrophic drop in economic activity. They are in completely different leagues. And so put things into even more perspective. While recessions are always difficult, The ones we've experienced in modern times have tended to be shorter. Since 1980, the average recession in the US has lasted less than 10 months. So while they cause a lot of disruption, the data shows that our economy does eventually recover and get back to growing.
So let's wrap up with the key takeaways. Number 1, a recession is a downturn that is broad, deep, and lasts a while. 2, it's usually caused by a mix of things, not just one single event. 3, it creates a domino effect of lower spending and job cuts. And finally, number 4, as tough as they are, recessions are a normal, recurring part of how economies work.
I'll leave you with this one last thought, an analogy that might help. You can think of a recession kind of like a thunderstorm. Nobody really enjoys them while they're happening, and they can certainly be disruptive, but they are temporary. And given time, they always pass, the sky is clear, and the economy finds its way back to growth again.